Mozilla Firefox just updated its terms of service and they deleted an entire section about not selling your data. Firefox used to be the most popular web browser on the planet. It got dethroned by Google Chrome, but for a lot of users who are privacy focused, Firefox or Firefox-like browsers were a way to avoid the whole Chrome or Chromium ecosystem. Well, a lot of the privacy focused users of Firefox are up in arms today because we noticed this change to their terms of service. I first saw this by someone retweeting this by Brendan Eich, which caveat, Brendan Eich co-founded Mozilla, and he's now the CEO of one of their biggest competitors, the Brave browser. Brave markets itself as a secure and private browser alternative, but it is Chromium-based. But I took this tweet with a grain of salt when I first saw it because I knew that Brendan Eich would like nothing more than to make Firefox look bad compared to Brave. So I really wanted to dig into this one. So what we're going to get into in this video is what was the change to terms of service? What was the community's reaction to it, including what I think happened, what Mozilla is saying about all this backlash, and then I want to analyze it and compare it to the other browsers to see what the change they just made, if it puts it in line with any of your other alternatives. All right, so the direct quote that Brendan Eich posted, and this is from the terms of service page, and this is the thing that's got everyone up in arms. There's a few changes, but this one is the spicy one. I'm going to read it directly. When you upload or input information through Firefox, you hereby grant us a non-exclusive, royalty-free, worldwide license to use that information to help you navigate, experience, and interact with online content as you indicate with your use of Firefox. Okay, this thread continues to show these changes and the actual diff in language in the terms of service in the GitHub repo that Mozilla maintains. And then right off the bat, I was with Rob Graham on this one, was surely we're misinterpreting this. So let's go straight to the GitHub repo. So I went and found the commits that actually merged all these changes to see what was going on. First and foremost, this is the one in that screenshot that Brendan Eich was showing. And it really just changes this section that says Firefox is independent and part of a not-for-profit Mozilla, which fights for your online rights, keeps corporate powers in check, and makes the internet accessible to everyone everywhere. We believe the internet is for people, not profit. Unlike other companies, we don't sell access to your data. You're in control over who sees your search and browsing history, all that, and an exceptional performance too. So this is what got erased and then got replaced with virtually the same thing, but the part that's missing was, unlike other companies, we don't sell access to your data. Then the part that's really sticking out to me, even after I read Mozilla's response to the backlash, which we're going to get to in a second, this part is what I'm going to keep coming back to. This is part of the Firefox FAQ, and the question, does Firefox sell your personal data? And the answer, nope, never have, never will, and we protect you from many of the advertisers who do. Firefox products are designed to protect your privacy. That's a promise. And this is all red because this entire question and answer has been removed. Then, of course, scrolling down in this whole commit history, you can make comments on this repo. And so a lot of people did. This got posted on Hacker News, people saying, hey, I'm coming from over there. Can someone from Mozilla mind clearly stating what these TOS changes mean? Someone from Mozilla responds with a link to a blog post explaining it. Not a very popular response. And people just repeatedly asking, hey, thanks for like the PR blog post and all that. But does this mean that Firefox will be selling personal data going forwards? And once again, I don't think their response is super clear. They say Mozilla doesn't sell data about you in the way that most people think about selling data. What kind of caveat is that? And we don't buy data about you. They're going down this whole road of what seems like, hey, we got some advice from a lawyer that we have to explicitly say some things to protect us from a lawsuit. So since we strive for transparency and the legal definition of sale of data is extremely broad in some places, we had to step back from making the definitive statements you know and love. Basically, that promise above, never have, never will. But then they go on to say in the second half of this, we make sure that the data that we do share with our partners, is that selling data to partners or what? Which we need to do to make Firefox commercially viable. Again, this is just sideways speak of, hey, we need to make some money. We work extra hard to make sure it's stripped of any identifying information, or only shared in the aggregate, or is put through our privacy-preserving technologies. Again, not a popular answer. These comments just devolve as this commit got more and more attention on social media, end of an era, hard to keep defending Firefox. And it goes on and on and on. And eventually they say, hey, you might want to move over to not the GitHub commit comments. And we're going to talk about this over on a different forum. Please move this conversation over to mozilla.org. Okay, so let's move over there. So here seems to be the thing that they kind of hinge on, right? Is like transparency matters to us. That's why we did this terms of service update. We're still totally dedicated to privacy. And then here, you stay in control. This like whole control term. Let me sidebar on this for a second. This is usually what a lot of companies say when they are selling your data is, hey, we do have an opt-out mechanism, so this is really your fault. The average user or even the above average user are not lawyers and are not going to dig through all of this and figure out what letters they need to send, settings that they need to turn on or off, or whatever that is to make sure that companies are not selling their data, not storing their data, and protecting their privacy. So saying that you're still a bastion of privacy because you give the control to your users just isn't accurate in my opinion. So that next discussion on mozilla.org, this is the blog post that everyone was complaining about that didn't really clear things up. And they did put an update saying, hey, we've seen a little confusion because this didn't make anything clear. So I want to read the update verbatim too, because it's important about everything we talk about going forward. We've seen a little confusion about the language regarding licenses. So we want to clear it up. We need a license to allow us to make some of the basic functionality of Firefox possible. Without it, we couldn't use information that you typed into Firefox, for example. It does not give us ownership of your data or a right to use it for anything other than what is described in the privacy notice. So here's what they're pointing to, and the leg they're standing on is, hey, we had to put in our terms of service that anything you type into your web browser, we're allowed to use royalty-free to do the thing that you asked us to do. So if you type in a search term, we're allowed to use what you typed in to go do the search. Okay, got it. But Firefox has been around for well over a decade without this terminology in the license, and it's been a fully functioning browser this entire time. Okay, in the most gracious definitions of everything you're talking about, I can see that. But then why delete that whole question from the FAQ that says we promise to never sell your data? That has nothing to do with basic browser functionality whatsoever. The rest of this blog post doesn't really tell us anything. It kind of keeps reiterating the whole like security and privacy is important to us. We believe in transparency. That's why we're doing this update. And here's our privacy notice. We tried to make this as easy as read and understand as possible. No surprises on how the product works. But as you saw in the GitHub commit comments in response to this blog post and those privacy notice, we are all unclear. We are straight up asking, are you selling our data or not? And why in the privacy notice do you have to say that you give Mozilla all rights to operate Firefox, including processing data, as well as acting on your behalf to help you navigate the internet? This sentence is just crazy to me. When you upload or input information through Firefox, you hereby grant us non-exclusive royalty-free worldwide license to use that information to help you navigate and experience and interact with online content as you indicate with your use of Firefox. I guess the second half of that is the saving grace, as like to use that information to help you navigate, experience, and interact with the online content as you indicate. But this first half of the sentence is just insane. You hereby grant us non-exclusive royalty-free worldwide license to use the information to everything you type and input into your web browser. Scary language, and I understand the backlash. You could see the conversations blown up on social media. You could see some people come to the defense and say, hey, this license says that when you type stuff, the program can use the stuff you typed to do the thing you asked it to do. This is what programs ordinarily do, but nowadays lawyers tend to advise companies say it explicitly. But as I keep saying, is why did they also then in the same move remove the promise to not sell your data? Here, going back to the Mozilla thread, you can see people sharing my same exact concern on the first part of this sentence. See, they even bolded it. Other major concern that people are bringing up is, hey, this sounds like a shift into AI land if I ever heard it. Boilerplate AI harvesting language. If this is intended specifically for an AI chatbot, that needs to be clearly carved out. Firefox keeps restating that same update that they put on top of the blog, and they're reiterating this doesn't give us ownership of the data, but a lot of people are saying, hey, this update still isn't even good enough. Oh, I forgot another deletion in the FAQ. Basically, the question is, does Firefox cost anything? And the old answer was, yep, it's free, super free, actually, no hidden costs or anything. You don't pay anything to use it. And we don't sell your personal data. And the new update gets rid of that last bit as well. Removing any mention of we don't sell your data from all of your FAQs at the same time as updating this TOS is not in line with all of the subsequent updates saying, hey, whoa, there's some confusion here. We don't own your data. We're still privacy focused. Okay, so I wanted to put some of my own like privacy guy, security guy bias aside. I'm still going down the rabbit hole that was pointed at me from one of Mozilla's biggest competitors, Brave. And so I started looking for some like other analysis and hey, is this in line with some of the other browsers that we see out there? Or are we all just kind of sensitive to the fact that they deleted a bunch of the we don't sell your data stuff, which I think it's okay to be sensitive about, but are we just like looking into this? It's like legalese nonsense going on a little too much. I wanted to come up for air, find some more analysis. So I found this good one. It's by Assis Yosef. I'll put a link to this in the description below. This puts it into great context. I also just made a video about this, that Microsoft is putting ads into Office and has similar language in some of the updated terms of service to things like Word. So they pose the question, while I'm not going to ponder why Mozilla wants royalty-free license to my intellectual property, I immediately wondered whether using Microsoft Word also needed this kind of license since it's processing my words. So Microsoft's license straight up says, many of our services allow you to create, store, or share your content or receive material from others. We don't claim ownership of your content. Your content remains yours and you are responsible for it. Microsoft straight up says this in the terms of service, not in some like blog post. And so I think this person is saying, hey, Mozilla, you're kind of missing this part. Overall, it sucks. Totally other video that ads are coming to free versions of Office. Ads are also privacy nightmares, whatever, other video. But here's what I wanted to get to on this post, basically comparing Firefox to all the other browsers. So we have a matrix here, the browser, we have uploaded or input information grants software vendor a non-exclusive royalty-free worldwide license. That's the change. So we know Firefox, yes. So if you're wondering, Google Chrome, also yes. As they say here, shouldn't be surprising. Unsurprisingly, Google grants itself very excessive access to your intellectual property. Microsoft Edge, we have a partial yes. Microsoft grants itself a worldwide royalty-free intellectual property license to use your content, but explicitly disclaims ownership of your content, as we just saw above in their Office suite. Then here's the interesting part for me. Safari, Brave, Opera, no reference to any of this stuff whatsoever. No language about intellectual property licenses or user-generated content. This was another sticking point for me. If Firefox is saying that we needed to put these terms of service in here in order to retain the basic operating function of a web browser, why does Apple not need to? I can see some of these smaller offshoot browsers like Brave, Opera, or any of the other forks of Firefox or Chromium. I could see them not jumping through the same legal hoops that we're seeing Firefox go through just due to sheer size, complexity, user base, and all that. But Apple, Safari, the default browser on all iPhones, if Firefox needs this language in order to operate as a web browser, I would definitely think that Apple would as well. All right, I'm not saying we all have to jump off Firefox if you're a user. I'm gonna let this play out a little bit and figure out if the lawyers just stubbed their toe on this one. But in the meantime, I did want to show you how to turn off some of these data collection settings that we do have control over. It's right here on Mozilla's data privacy FAQ. They go through a lot of this, and I want to hone on this section right here. Data collection still bugs me. Can I turn it off? And they say, yes, you can go to your privacy settings page. So here's what that looks like. If you're a Firefox user, you can go to settings, privacy and security, and they have a checkbox that says allow Firefox to send technical and interaction data to Mozilla, and you can uncheck it. It is checked by default. I verified that. If you're a Firefox on Android user, you can do the same thing, settings, privacy, security, tap data collection, and you can set that toggle also. It's worded the same way. iOS, same thing. All the wording is exactly the same. Send technical and interaction data. You're going to want to turn that one off. So what do you think? Are you going to stop using Firefox altogether? If so, what other browsers are you guys using? I tried Brave for a little bit. It's pretty cool. It is based on Chromium, and that is a thing to worry about. Though Chromium is not Chrome. Chromium is an open source project that Chrome is built on top of. I've seen more browsers named in the conversation this morning than I knew existed at this point. I will warn you here quickly, as a security person, secure browsers are hard to develop. I worked somewhere that tried once and failed miserably. So if you are looking at smaller alternative web browsers that are not forks of these base projects like Mozilla or Google put out, please be wary that you might get some more privacy, but you might do that at the sacrifice of security. Web browsers are basically programs that let other people run their code on your machine, which is inherently a dangerous activity. We have decades of guardrails put in place in things like Chrome or Firefox to make sure that that is as safe as possible. And they still come out with 0 days every patch cycle where people can escape the memory bounds of Chrome or Firefox and start executing code in your computer. So if you're looking at browsers that don't have the security apparatus of something like Google or Mozilla, Just be careful. I personally can't attest to any of the alternatives out there being more secure than some of these popular projects. Maybe I'll do a follow-up on a deep dive on browser alternatives and get a little bit nitty-gritty on some of the other options out there. If you're a browser expert, security, privacy, or otherwise, and you have some more information on this, reach out, let me know. Maybe I'll use what you give me in our next video. Thanks for watching. Do all the YouTube stuff below as I get this channel going and off the ground. I really appreciate all the support. It feels like we're starting to get some legs here, but do the whole like, subscribe, bell, comment, share with your mom, all that kind of stuff below. It really helps out more than you know. And while you're down there, feel free to sign up for my free weekly newsletter, Vulnerable You. It's on vulnu.com. Thanks so much. See you next time.